top bantamweight pairing at the top of this card from Fight Island as the former UFC bantamweight champ, Preacher's daughter, Holly Holm, looking to get another win and add to the conversation that maybe she should fight for a title once more against Amanda Nunes. And she's taking on Mexico's Irene Aldana, who's absolutely on fire. Matt, since Aldana's been in the UFC, you might not think it, but I mean, she had a tough out her first 2 times. I mean, it's tough to beat Leslie Smith, who's in the top 3 for strikes landed per minute in the UFC, which is crazy to think of. Bellator's Leslie Smith. Then she loses a split decision to Caitlin Chookagian, which Chookagian, the queen of split decision wins and losses.
The female Czech Congo, some have said.
That wasn't great for Irene Aldana. So she comes back, beats Talita Bernardo, beats Lucia Pudzilova in a really fun fight, beats Betch Correia, boing.
Breaks off her.
Loses split decision to Raquel Pennington, which was a tough one. So she goes back out, beats Vanessa Melo. That means absolutely nothing. I mean, Irene Aldana, to me, is actually a really, really good fighter. Vanessa Melo, it has not gone Melo's way in the UFC. So Aldana goes from beating Vanessa Melo to taking on the number 2 contender at the time in Ketlin Vieira. And if Vieira had gotten a win, it was title or game over for Vieira. Aldana goes out there. They put on a clinic as long as it lasted. Vieira had the kind of like wrist action where she'd throw the shot and kind of hit her, but there wasn't a ton of pop at the end. And Irene Aldana had pop.
Yeah, she started training with Canelo Alvarez before that fight, I guess.
They both went through hooks at the same time. Aldana's landed quicker and dropped Vieira, and man, that really cemented. Maybe there was a shot for Aldana at the time. Hey, title shot. She said it in the post-fight interview. I want a title shot. And she had to wait. Now she gets Holly Holm. It's kind of weird.
So, Irene Aldana should hate Amanda Nunes, and this is the only reason why. If Amanda Nunes is a bigger star, Irene Aldana would be fighting her already. Because this is what the UFC is doing. Aldana, does she deserve the title shot over Holly Holm? Of course she does. You're not getting an argument from me. Holly Holm has not been good as of late, really ever since she won the title. Inconsistent, I should say. Aldana is fighting Holly Holm because if she beats Holly Holm, this is exactly the Peter Yan, Jose Aldo fight. He should have fought Sterling, but if you beat Aldo, you get Aldo's fans, and then you can fight Sterling, and then it's going to be a bigger fight. If Aldana beats Holly Holm, you're beating the other legend that's still in the sport, not named Cyborg, because of course she's gone. Misha Tate's retired. Rousey's gone, so you really only have Holly Holm, Amanda Nunes, and that's it from like the glory days of the bantamweight division. Everyone else has either moved down in weight or retired. So if you can beat Holly Holm, not that you're going to, just absorb all of her fans, but that's another big name that you can then bring and say, okay, I beat Holly Holm. I've knocked out your former number 1 contender. I deserve the title shot. And hopefully that can kind of boost the, I guess, underwhelming pay-per-view numbers of Amanda Nunes. And that's the only reason they're making this fight.
The most interesting part about this, because, you talk about fights being a clash of styles. This definitely isn't that. From Irene Aldana, that boxing background that she has. But, oh, by the way, and I know they're going to play on this in the broadcast, Holly Holm, former boxing champ, she comes into MMA, more of a kickboxer because you see that combination, the high kick, and then you have the 1, 2, 3, and she just goes to the well. Interesting wrinkle in her game, and we've seen it, maybe not as of late, I would say, but after the Chris Cyborg fight, so at least 2 years ago, she goes into the Megan Anderson fight. Most people thought Megan Anderson, a lot of hype behind her from Invicta. Holly Holm's probably not going to win that one. What did Holly Holm do? She starts going for the takedowns. And since the Cyborg fight, and even in the Cyborg fight, the clinch work from Holly Holm, she's really pushed more into her opponents. And we've seen more of a progression of her game where she's not just a boxer, a kickboxer, just a pure striker. She's added different things in, especially at 38 years of age now. That's a really interesting wrinkle to that game.
I'm about to hit people with a hot take. Holly Holm is not what I would consider an exciting fighter for the most part. Some of the finishes in her fights do result in exciting finishes, but the fights themselves aren't that exciting. When you really think of Holly Holm fights, they're kind of clinch heavy. There's not that much volume being thrown. She has power, but a lot of her power is, okay, I'm drawing people into my shots. And when you look at who she's actually been able to stop in MMA, Betch Correia.
There's nothing better than this.
My point is, Holly Holm's a really good striker, but she's not a power puncher or even a power kicker. You just have to look at who she was able to finish. She fought Marion Renaud to a split decision before she fought for the title. Like, she's someone who had close fights, or split decision with Raquel Pennington. Had a close fight with Marion Renaud, though. These fights all went to decision. Then she knocked out Ronda Rousey. Kind of got labeled as, oh, she's this wicked striker. It's not that I don't think... Holly Holm is a good striker. But being a better striker than Ronda Rousey doesn't put you in like that god tier of, oh wow, they're this really phenomenal striker. I don't think she's good at striking as Germaine Randamie. I don't think she's good at striking as Amanda Nunes. I think there's people out there who are better than her at her specialty. The only issue is Irene Aldana is not that person. And this is why Irene Aldana should hate Amanda Nunes for not being a big draw. Aldana is going to be a harder fight for Nunes than Holly Holm, but I don't think she's ever going to be able to fight Amanda Nunes because Holly Holm's just going to frustrate her to no end in this fight. If they're at range and if Irene Aldana is starting to do well, Holly Holm's just going to clinch her up. She's the much bigger fighter. She's more physically strong. Now, Aldana might be the taller, but out of the two, Holly Holm's going to be able to get those double underhooks, pressure up against the cage, and not that Holly's going to be winning the fight, but she's not going to let Aldana win moments. And again, I'm talking in riddles right now, but if you watch enough MMA, you can kind of see that pattern where, okay, I'm not going to do an awful lot, but I will prevent you from making any moves or doing anything significant. I think Holly Holm's really going to have to slow this fight down. I think she's going to have to try to get rid of the movement of Aldana. Even though Holm's not a big leg kicker, I think she's going to go to the body a lot to try to, wear on that gas tank, wear on that cardio of Aldana. 5-round fights, now yes, she had them in Invicta, but 5-round fights for the most part are new to Irene Aldana. Holly Holm's basically only ever done 5-round fights in the UFC, really ever since the Rousey fight, because she's such a big name. It's hard to give Holly Holm just a regular fighter. So as much as it would be nice to see Irene Aldana, get the big win, move up, and offer Amanda Nunes sort of a new challenger, it's an uphill battle, and it's a really hard fight to win because I don't see her knocking out Holly Holm because Holly Holm moves her feet really well, whereas Ketlen Vieira in her last fight that she won by knockout doesn't really move her feet all that well. We saw that in the Eubanks fight.
Yeah, it is an interesting matchup, and I mean, Matt, you seem to think that it's going to be a frustrating one. Holly Holm wins, and then there's going to be a conversation and debate as to whether or not she deserves a title shot. Holm right now, open to -110. She's now at a -120 favorite. You look at Aldana, same thing. Pick 'em odds at the open. Now she's a -103, 105 on best fight odds. You have a look over on Tapology at 858 total votes, 59% going with Holly Holm, 78% saying that she's going to win by decision. If you look at it for Aldana, 70% of the 41% that picked her say she's going to win by decision. So in terms of Aldana, again, we know how good the striking is. She throws those nice hooks from range. She can dirty box in close. Holly Holm does everything just about the same. She'll throw in a little bit more in terms of the kicking. And you would think that, again, the clinch work and just the overall frustration would favor Holly Holm. This fight originally supposed to take place in early August. Aldana out due to a positive COVID test. So, in terms of this fight and what it presents, again, Irene Aldana, she's going to win. Glimmers of, wow, she looks like she could beat Amanda Nunes, let's say. Her striking's so good, this not, maybe she offers up
she could
a moment.
Masvidal, Ben Askren, Holly Holm, and I wouldn't think she beats Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, it's tough. And Holly Holm, frustrator. I think you're probably going to get the latter. You're going to get Holly Holm frustrating Irene Aldana. It might not be the most confident pick. Again, it's more of a coin toss because it's going to be one of the two, and a lot of people are going to be really high on Irene Aldana, and I'm one of those people. I just think that Holly Holm, again, where we've seen her excel in fights against strikers like this, I'm just going to push a pace. I'm going to push them back, and I'm really going to eliminate the tools that they have and the things that they do well. And, I mean, yeah, she lost to Randamie. She lost to Shevchenko. She lost to Miesha Tate. Those things are going to happen. She beat Megan Anderson. She beat Raquel Pennington. It's tough. It's a tough pick, but I have it for Holm.
So, for the division's sake, it would be nice for Aldana to win. Again, parity in the division. You have a new title challenger who can offer a few new questions to the answer. That is Amanda Nunes. But Holly Holm's going to be able to win this. Again, no matter what range the fight takes place at, Holly Holm's got the deterrent. She can use her kicks from the outside. She is the longer of the fighters. She's the bigger of the fighters. She can use her clinch game. She has decent takedowns, although I don't really see her using them. I still would give her the edge in the wrestling, but it should be an entertaining, hopefully, main event. I'm just really curious to see. This is more of a fight to see if Aldana can get over the hump, if she can go from that contender to a challenger status. Because right now, a lot of people see her as, oh, she's got really good skills, but when she does fight the upper echelon, she tends to lose. And Katlyn Chookagian, I know she's not the upper echelon at bantamweight, but kind of a similar fight for her. You're going to be fighting a fighter who's similar to Chookagian, but who can hit you harder. I just don't see it going for Aldana. It would be nice, but I think Holly Holm's going to win probably by decision.
I'm going to throw one more thing in there and really hit this from every angle. If you look at UFC stats, and we have enough tape on both fighters and enough input that you can look at it, Irene Aldana actually leads in almost every statistical category. She's got better striking offense, better takedown offense at 50% compared to Holm's 27%. She's got better takedown defense at 97% versus Holm's 76%. In terms of striking, 6.16 given for Aldana per 15, or per minute rather, to 2.75 for Holm. Holm actually has a negative striking differential by 0.05. Aldana has a positive, but she takes more. So it's 5.92 taken per minute to 2.8 for Holm. The defense percentage is actually higher for Aldana at 67% to 57% for Holm. And the percentage given is actually better for Aldana, 3% better than Holm's at 38 to 35. So every statistical category leaning Aldana's way, but has she taken on the same level of competition Holm has lately? No, that's the trouble. So it's a frustrating fight. And being the frustrated guy that I am at the end of this card, that if I had to give it a letter grade, it wouldn't be a high one. I'm going to go with Holm. You're going to go with Holm.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, there are glimmers of hope in this one. There's interesting fights, and there's things to look forward to. Dusko Todorovic making the UFC debut.
It's going to be exciting.
There's good fight. I mean, Jourdain's taking on Josh Culibao on the undercard. That's interesting. And you've got Carlos Condit taking on Court McGee. So head back into the playlist. Check out some of those videos. The individual videos out soon to a place near you. Probably YouTube, because that's where they're dropped. And then new merch as well, fightnightpicks.net. Make sure you check that out. If you made it this far, we certainly appreciate you. Check out Question Mark Kicks on Saturday. We're both going to be there. Matt has a prediction MVP trophy from the weekend. He beat me for once, which is never going to
happen often.
Never going to happen again. As we always say, Matt, with Fight Night Picks, let's get into it.